laughter dances with the macabre, and shadows cast wicked gleams. Welcome, brave souls, to a spine-tingling episode of Buddy Shotz Podcast. Tonight, we beckon you to join us in the bizarre, black and white world of horror comedy shorts, featuring the legendary Laurel and Hardy, the zany antics of the three Stooges, and the timeless brilliance of Keaton. It's a wicked concoction of laughs and shivers, where the chuckles are as unsettling as the ghouls themselves. These are tales that dare to jest in the face of fear, where dark humor reigns supreme. From haunted hilarity to comedic cadavers, from eerie guffaws to ghostly giggles. These black and white shorts shall send shivers down your spine even as you chuckle. Join us in this twisted carnival of laughter and fright. Are you ready to explore the world of horror comedy and erotic bone? I present to you the tale of Shotz.
What's this? Say, was your father and mother's name Buddy?
Sure, why?
Did you ever have any relatives? Where were you born?
I don't know.
Fancy not knowing where you were born.
Well, I was too young to remember. How do I know where I was born?
Didn't you tell me you once had an uncle?
Sure, I've got an uncle. Why?
Now we're getting someplace. Is he living?
No, he fell through the trap door and broke his neck.
Was he building a house?
No. They were hanging him. Poor Unc.
Here, read that.
$3 million. Is that as much as 1,000?
Why, man alive, it's twice as much.
Gee whiz! And it's all mine?
If I can convince them that you're the heir, then we'll be living in luxury the rest of our lives. Now leave everything to me. Come on.
This just in, War of the Worlds is real. It's Buddy Shotz, episode 140, coming to you live. Just kidding, this is pre-recording, or is it? This is Buddy Shotz. We're recording on all frequencies. This is Shorts Week, episode 140. I'm like, oh god, what a catastrophe, oh god. But yeah, guys.
What's the meaning of Shorts Week?
Well, I'm wearing shorts, but you're not. So it's not the pants shorts, it's short film. And more specifically, anything that was made before, like, our parents were born. So we've got Three Stooges, Buster Keaton, and Laurel and Hardy on deck to talk. Well, they're not here to talk about stuff. We're here to talk about their stuff. I'm like, I'd like to know, Buster Keaton, what do you think about the Buddy Shotz podcast? And this picture on IMDb is like
He's like, I've been dead since 1966.
So
yeah, I wanted to do like, because we've done like an older movie, like once per every Halloween month, and I was thinking like, I wanted to do something Laurel and Hardy maybe, but they don't really have any horror movies, and then I remembered they have many shorts.
It's kind of like, I think the Stooges are like that. They ended up doing like, I think longer movies, but it was after like Shemp and like Curly passed away. Yeah, like Curly Joe. My dad's like, I hate Curly Joe.
I think everyone does.
Even Curly.
I don't hate him. He's just, you can't live up to. He's Curly.
Sucks.
But we'll get into that.
So, thanks for watching, you guys. If you like this broadcast, send a note to your local radio station, and we'll get it someday. Or just subscribe. That works too.
Write your congressman.
Yeah. I'm like, did they have congressmen back then? It's like, what?
Is that more than 1,000?
I'm like, there is no such thing as Congress. You're just like, we should cut this part. Yeah. I think it's time to move on.
Yeah.
To, well, actually, I guess before we move on to anything, I think these are the ones that I think of when I think of, like, old comedy groups. Like Laurel and Hardy, the Three Stooges, maybe Four Stooges. I mean, it's depending on who is in it, Shemp or Curly or whatever, and Buster Keaton, I guess, is what you kind of like bring to the table with this and stuff. I'm trying to think if there's any other, like, I guess maybe like the Marx Brothers, but we...
yeah, a Chaplin.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was raised on, like, specifically Laurel and Hardy, because, like, my dad and my grandpa were huge into Laurel and Hardy all their lives, and, like, my dad has a whole shelf full of books about Laurel and Hardy, so at some point in the 90s, the tapes became available on VHS.
Oh, okay,
so you bought all the tapes, there'd be, like, 2 shorts on a VHS, and we watched them all the time, so I'm very familiar with Laurel and Hardy, not as much Three Stooges, though.
Damn.
And then Kino released all of Buster Keaton.
Kino! Yeah.
So yeah, those are all easily available now. And all this is online now, so it's like a dream come true.
Yeah.
For fans of old-timey comedy.
A lot of this stuff is either uploaded by the estates onto YouTube, or like it's uploaded and no one from the estate gives a fuck to try to like, that's even probably around even challenge, like, you know, there's like 50 different versions of the one we're going to talk about for Buster Keaton online, and it's like, I'm pretty sure there was never any copyright strike put against it, because it's just like, but yeah, like, yeah, same thing. I think the Three Stooges stuff also did that same thing with like Laurel and Hardy, where they put them on, like here's 2 shorts per VHS, and it was like, the ones that were like there was always like a couple like Disorder in the Court that was on every one, because it was like the easiest one to get, or it was like there was no issue with like copyright or something, so it was just on every single one. It was like laugh compilations, and it was like that, and I was like, okay. But yeah, I think I know there for a while they were running that like Three Stooges like segment on like TMC, where like Leslie Nielsen hosted it or whatever. Yeah. It was like NKU, Knock University or whatever, like, or NYUK. Like that kind of stuff, and I don't remember ever seeing, the only thing I ever remember seeing Laurel and Hardy really on TV was them showing like Own the Lifetime collection, and that was always like something that like your grandparents would be like, yeah, you know, but I never, you know, it was always something that came on TV and stuff, that like, own the collection of a lifetime, own all the Laurel and Hardy shorts on VHS finally, or DVD, back when you had to order that stuff over phone or whatever, instead of like, you know, going online, or just like you said, the Kino released all that stuff, and we already did previously Abbott and Costello. Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of our week to talk about the rest that we mentioned, but we don't ever really go into too much detail because it's not the subject. So, what do you want to start with first?
Maybe Laurel and Hardy.
Okay, that works because that's my first note.
The Laurel and Hardy
It just says the Laurel and Hardy. I'm like, So, this first one is a pre-code comedy film released in 1930. One of a handful of 3 real comedies they made, running 28 minutes, directed by James Parrott, produced by Hal Roach, and distributed by MGM. And that's kind of like a running theme through the Laurel and Hardy stuff, and also like some of the Three Stooges stuff is MGM involved and stuff like that. So yeah, okay. So we're going to talk about this first one, the Laurel and Hardy Murder Case. I guess I didn't write the description down, but we're going to go through what this is about.
Yeah. As usual, they're down on their luck to start out.
Yeah, so that's something that, like, if you're not really super familiar with Laurel and Hardy, it kind of is like I guess like a thing with their characters, and I think a lot of, because the Three Stooges, from what I remember, did the same thing, where like a lot of these comedy characters don't have money, so like that's their whole thing, is they're working or they're doing odd jobs, or like they're trying to find a job, or they're like homeless, and I guess that probably comes from the philosophy of like suffering is comedy and stuff like that.
Yeah, and also these specifically were during the Great Depression, so it's like very relatable for...
Everyone's like, we have money, why are these guys sitting on the street?
So what'd you think of the Laurel and Hardy Murder Case?
I watched this one first, and I thought it was really good. I think it was probably... What was the other one? I think out of the 2, this one was probably my favorite.
Me too. This is one of my favorites of all their shorts. It's really good. It's pretty elaborate and stuff, and they have a lot of people involved in it. And it's just like a fun, like haunted house, essentially. I'm a sucker for anything haunted house style.
This is actually done good.
Yeah.
But I guess once we get to the Three Stooges, we'll talk about that as well, because there's a connection between this. But yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'd seen maybe like one Laurel and Hardy thing, maybe, but I can't really remember if that's even true, to tell you the truth, because not like I grew up watching Three Stooges, but I had heard of them, but I'd never really heard of Laurel and Hardy until like, years later and stuff. But it was definitely like interesting to watch like a different approach to like the comedy group or whatever, even though it's like 2 people and Three Stooges is 3, it's essentially like, there's a dynamic regardless, so it's definitely different, like cool to see like what their dynamic is and stuff like that.
Yeah. Basically, they're like 2 children.
Yeah.
Who are adults.
Yeah. It's kind of like, so like Abbott and Costello, one of them is always like more scared, and this, it's like Hardy is like the leader, but like it's something weird, because it's like it's something I was kind of shocked about, like he's like the leader, but he's also like a scared bitch too. Yeah. Like, which is funny, but it's something that like you wouldn't see sometimes, like to be like, let's make our like leader be like scared and stuff. So I thought that was really cool. Like he was like, listen to me, and then like when he sees the same thing, he's not like, well, that's bullshit. He's like, oh, and he's always like making Laurel like do his shit and gaslighting him. He's like,
gaslighting.
He does that like a lot, but it's not. It's in a funny way, because he's like, I don't know, the way he does it. He'll be like, you're the reason why, like this is happening or whatever, and he's just like, you're the heir to this fortune. You got me into this mess, and when he was the one that found the newspaper and wanted to go get the money anyway, so it was like, but like, I don't know, they somehow pull off where like Hardy never comes off as like an asshole or like a bastard. Like he's not like like he cares enough about Laurel where you don't feel like he's just like using him the whole time.
Yeah.
Like they're partners, but like Laurel is more like the follower. But he does have times where he just says something or does something that's like, I'm in charge, but it's not. I'm in charge. He doesn't say I'm in charge. He like acts that way, but it kind of like is surprising. But it's like for a second, so it's always kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it work. Is like no matter how bad like they treat each other, for how bad Ali treats Stan, like deep down they are best friends, like no matter what. Mm-hmm. So I think that's like what makes it really special. But it's just a great character because Oliver is like he's totally pretentious. He thinks he's like super fancy in high society, but deep down he's just like a scared little kid. So he reveals his true character. Yeah. When ghosts run amok.
Or do they? So this one sets up an inheritance thing where like so first of all, like when you first start watching this, it's like Mr. Laurel and Mr. Hardy decided they needed a rest. They had been looking for work since 1921, and it's like this is like they use both like the silent film technique and also like, you know, this is like the people speaking, I guess, a talkie. But like they're
title cards.
Yeah, they're like they put in title cards at the beginning or whatever to like kind of explain the preamble, and also they use them as sometimes to like set up jokes and stuff.
It's a nice joke to start off.
So we got like a fish slapping Hardy's ass here.
That was
you weren't kidding the other day when I was leaving. You were like, man, a lot of these have butt play in them, and I was like,
so much.
Holy shit, people's asses are getting slapped, poked, burned.
That was like the height of comedy with something happening to someone's butt.
Yeah, like someone like sitting on like a pen or whatever. Like I rented an Easy Boy chair.
And guess what? It still works.
Yeah, it does.
Like it's the universal comedy butt play. But I mean, you laughed at that, right?
Yeah. Well, I was like, at first I was like, what's going on? And the fish is like flopping on the deck, slapping his ass. Also, like, there was a thing in here that kind of gave me like flashbacks because there was a part where Laurel's fishing and he pulls the fucking hat off of Hardy's head with his hook, and it reminded me when you told me that fucking cigar got pulled out of your mouth with a hook, and I was like, holy
that was
shit.
Wild, dude. Yeah. Wild stuff.
But that happened, and I was like...
A near miss.
And then, of course, when he, like, gets the hat back out of the water, what does he do? He turns it upside down and put it on his head, and water comes out. And he's like...
Naturally.
So, yeah, then we get to the part where they find out, wait a minute, there's, like, Laurel is, you know... the nephew of this guy that died, and he has the inheritance. So let's go get some of that. They have some banter here where we're talking about like he broke his neck, and like he asked if he was repairing a house, and they were like, no, they're hanging him, and I was like, holy
great joke.
Shit. But it's also like.
It's probably a joke that's been around for hundreds of years.
At the, like, somebody's being hanged, they're like, you're fucking being hanged now. So, I guess...
Dude, I just saw the tagline for this movie. More laughs than you've ever had! Exclamation mark.
It should have been a question mark. It's like, wait, what?
More laughs than you've ever had.
A lot of the taglines... from afar, that guy kind of looks like WC Films. A lot of the taglines in like these old ones had to like pull you in, so it was less like a tagline like something like, you know, like movies nowadays where it's like kind of possibly funny or something, and it's more like a circus barker. Yeah. Like, you gotta get in here, you know, like, and see that you won't believe what you see. It's like, it was like the original clickbait, even though I guess it wasn't clickbait because you did laugh.
20 things you never thought you'd laugh.
Yeah. They're like, number 5 on page 20 for Hardy will drop your jaw. It's like, what? So of course they get there, and this detective's just like, he didn't die. He was murdered, and then it's like this shifts to like a Sherlock Holmes kind of like a whodunit, and it's like, and then I was like, wait, didn't they hang him? I guess that is a murder. They're trying to find the guy with the rope who like hung this guy. They're like, get his ass. So of course this is like, it's funny because I guess we'll talk about it a little bit now, but I think we'll talk about it again when we get to the Three Stooges one. But like they reuse the exact same plot for the Three Stooges one, and this one's a lot earlier when they did this one. And, like, you see, like, the crooked police tactics here where they're like, you can't go, you're not, there's no, like, Miranda rights, so people have no rights here. So, essentially, if the cops show up, they could do whatever the hell they wanted to, and, like...
Bam Margera.
Yeah.
They were the original Bams. But, yeah, I mean, that's...
I was like, wait, what?
That's a reason to love movies, because it's, like, a good time capsule of how things used to be.
Yeah. But it's pretty fucked up to see that. It's like, But, like, essentially they just keep them all there, and he's like, okay, well, they're all staying here, and people are like, we want to leave, and he's like, you're not going anywhere, and I'm like, visas.
That's the true horror.
It was, actually.
Not the ghosts.
Yeah. A guy instantly cracks and tries to jump out the window, and I was like...
That was great.
He's like, I can't stand this shit no more, and I'm like, didn't this just start? But that'd
be me.
Yeah, instantly. I was also thinking, like, what police department has the time and money to keep a bunch of people in a home surrounded by other police? I was just like, man, they must have been rolling in the dough, or I guess they just had nothing better to do.
Yeah.
Another thing that, like, I really like is how Hardy keeps looking at the audience, like the camera or whatever.
Yeah,
he's like,
it's the best.
And it's just like... And obviously that's like a commonplace thing for certain characters to do now, is to like break the fourth wall, but he never like talks to the audience. He's just like, Laurel will say something stupid and he's like, and you're like,
those reactions are priceless, like so good.
Laurel's face whenever he's scared, he's like, it's like, Jesus.
What a tease.
He said, what a tease. Can't you see the family resemblance? That's General Grant. I was like, yeah. It was like, he's like, can't you see that he's his nephew? And it's like a picture of General Grant on the wall, which I thought was kind of funny that they'd have a random picture of General Grant on the wall, but I guess at that point he was still kind of relevant. The old butler is perfect in this. Oh my God, he's like
terrifying.
Horrible. He's way scarier and like works a lot better, I think, like in this. Kind of when they have a butler in the Three Stooges one. Like he's like, at one
when he
point,
sticks his dentures out or whatever, I was like,
yeah, he looks like, he turns into like a baboon. It's like horrifying.
My mom always tells me, like, her grandpa
used to do that, like, as a joke.
When she was a little kid, and she's, like, still never recovered from how scary that was.
Fucked up, dude. He's like, it's not over.
It makes me want to get dentures just to mess with people.
I'm like, I just hate you for no reason. Laurel goes under sheets, and it scares Hardy.
I'd say half of their movies involve, like, bed play. Like, them going to bed and, like, bed antics.
Yeah. No, it's not butt play and bed play at the same time.
Yeah.
It's not that kind of movie. Also, like, they scare each other by holding hands at some point. Like, his hand goes on his shoulder, and he's like, they're both like, ah! And I'm like, huh? But it was funny, so. Also, we got the classic dudes sleeping in night shirts here.
Yeah, that's so funny.
I was like
full length, like, sleeping gowns.
Like,
so good.
Did they change into those, or were they like wearing those under their clothes? Like, that is hilarious, dude. Like, it's like what you think of when you think of the old Christmas, like, you know, I went to the Shutter to see what is a clatter, and the dude's got like a nightshirt on, or like Ebenezer Scrooge, where he's got like a thing.
A nightcap.
Like, yeah. Also, like, well, I guess the nightcap was maybe to keep your head warm?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would assume it's not a fashion, but then again, like, why wouldn't you just keep all your clothes on if you were that cold? It ain't adding up. Laurel and Hardy going rocketing down the stairs.
That was good stuff. What about the fake bat? Like,
Jesus, that's my next
so
note.
many fake bat movies.
This was like It's like bat on a string, jumps into the bed with them, and then flies around with the sheet from the bed after them like a ghost. And I'm like, this is like the strongest bat of all time.
Yeah, dude.
But it was hilarious. Also got like a weird thing where like the cop and Laurel like are talking about like Christmas being in November, like the way that they're like, and then he lists off like the months, and it's like October, like it was like
September.
Yeah, it was like but then you find out that like people are being killed because of they've got like a phone, like they're throughout the movie they're like, you know, there's a call for you, and people go in the other room and like they scream and then they're not there anymore, and it's like it's because whenever you pick up the phone, like a trap door
That's
comes
pretty
out.
good gag.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty good stunt.
And then the killer comes out and Hardy's like beating his ass, but then he wakes up and he was dreaming and he's actually beating Laurel's ass. And I was like, that kind of seems to be like something that happens in a couple of these where like something horrible happens at the end of the film and you're like, how are they going to get out of this one? And it's actually just kidding, it was a dream. It's like the original gotcha, it was a dream kind of thing.
I love the ending. I think you said it, but at some point Ali got his catchphrase in. This is another nice mess you got into.
Like, for sure.
Dude, it was your idea.
Yeah, he says that a lot.
Yeah, it's a catchphrase. Classic.
So now I guess we'll go on to The Live Ghost from 1934.
Great title.
Directed by Charles Rogers and produced by Hal Roach at his studios in Culver City, California. So this one's about a captain who has a possibly haunted boat, and whenever he gets pissed whenever he hears someone say the word ghost, it's like his trigger word. So at the beginning of this, he's like trying to recruit a bunch of sailors, and they're like, dude, fuck that, your boat's haunted. And everyone's laughing at him and stuff. And then he like pays Laurel and Hardy to fucking Shanghai like a bunch of dudes, and I was like, dude, this is fucked up. Like, but the way
they're not like
they're not like bastards or whatever.
Like pulling dirty deeds.
Dirty deeds done dirt cheap. Actually, $1 back then was pretty big. But he's paying $1 a man, and essentially the way they do this is like Laurel goes in, pisses somebody off, and they chase him out the front door, and then Hardy hits him with a fucking frying pan, and the captain throws him into this in the brig, and when they hit the ground, they're like, oh!
The hold, he drops him like 30 feet.
Yeah.
He's broken necks left and right.
Yeah. But like, he's doing all this shit, and then like, eventually, they like fuck it up, and as soon as they switch places and Hardy goes in to piss somebody off, like, Laurel knocks both of them out, and then he gets knocked out by somebody, and then the captain just takes both of them, and I'm like, what a fucking bastard. He like paid him this money and then like took them too, but I guess they're the bastards too because they shanghaied a bunch of random dudes.
Do you think you'll ever try that egg trick on someone?
No. I don't want to get my ass beat for no reason.
That was pretty
I want to get my ass beat for some reason. I guess that would be a reason to get pissed at somebody. But yeah, explain the egg trick. What was that?
I bet you $1 you can't put an egg in your mouth without breaking it.
Yeah.
But that's easy. Anyone could do that. Let me show you.
And of course, like they did it 1 billion times, and then when Hardy went in to try the same thing, the dude fucked him over.
Yeah, but the reactions are so funny because like instead of just spitting it out, everyone swallows.
Yeah, and it's like. I guess maybe
that shell like cut up your.
Well, I was like, is that a hard-boiled egg or was that a raw egg? Like I didn't understand.
It was raw.
I was like, huh? Yeah, like you said, instead of spitting it out, they were like, it's like it wasn't. You didn't bite into it with your fucking throat.
Crack me up.
Also, like the sailors, it was like instant fucking rage. As soon as that happened, it was like Camp Joy style.
0 to 60.
Yeah.
I like the line where Stan is like, I don't want you to go to the ocean. The ocean's infatuated with sharks.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good wordplay.
They tear $1 in half, so they'll have to be Hardy. He'll have to be with Hardy to spend it. I was like, what? Captain goes apeshit when somebody says ghost.
So this has your favorite thing in it, drunk acting. What did you think of this dude? Because there's like your classic drunk.
I almost wonder if this guy was drunk, like IRL, because he was
that dude. He's done that in like several short films.
Yeah,
and he plays that same character. And
he was
like,
the go-to
like
drunkard.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean he was. I definitely could believe him being fucked. Like, I mean, this is what you expect when you see like an old school.
Arthur Houseman was his name. Being drunk is his game.
Yeah, he's like. So essentially, like, they all get thrown on this boat, and then like they're out to sea, and they wake up, and they're like, "Those are the guys that, Shanghaied us. Let's kill them." And the captain's like, "No one's gonna like hurt them while they're on board the ship." And they say okay, and I'm like, dude, you could just kill the captain because this fucker, like, it's like 20 against 1.
Yeah.
But like they listen to him for some reason. And it's like 10 ports later, and they're just like, they're never leaving the boat because they're like, as soon as we leave the boat, we're going to be like killed.
That reminded me of, there's a Jackass sketch in the new movie where like they locked people in this room and turned out the lights and like tortured them. And Dave England's like hiding in a corner, and he's like, "I'm not leaving. I'm going to start a new life right here." Everyone's like, "Yee." They're like 10 ports later. So they're playing checkers by matchlight. I thought that was funny. Yeah.
So like they're like, oh, they found a gun, and it like goes off, and they think they shot like one
hilarious
of the dudes
accidental
sleeping.
shooting.
It's like, and he's like, he's stone cold.
Yeah.
And he was like, because it's like a Laurel that shot him on accident, and he's like, oh.
The biggest laugh in
like,
the movie
Jesus.
for me was Stan was like, "Do you think he's gone to heaven?"
Jesus,
I'm
yeah.
afraid not.
Yeah. Like, yeah, do you think he went to heaven? I'm afraid not. He went to the other place. And I'm like, Jesus, how the fuck do you know that? That's so fucked up.
Assuming.
Well, it's so fucked up to say about somebody that he went to hell. I was like, what?
Good stuff.
Yeah, that's hilarious. It's funny that, like, 2 of these essentially involve hell. I just thought I guess maybe that was something they did quite a bit back then, was make fun of that kind of stuff, yeah. But, yeah, I also thought that was really funny. Another funny thing is when they're, like, in bed, and, like, Hardy gets into bed with, like, the drunk guy, and, like, Laurel's outside looking through the porthole, and then the guy, like, sits up, and he's covered in white paint, so he looks like a ghost, and, like, through the porthole, Laurel's like, he's like, oh! And I'm like, Jesus! And then
It was funny.
They're like, what happened here? What happened here? And, like, the captain's like, what's going on? And he's just like, there's a ghost. There was a ghost here. And he's like, you said that word to me. And he, like, turns Hardy's head backwards, and then, like, Laurel's is like, does the same thing to him, and at the end they have their shoes facing, their heads are backwards.
He literally
and I'm like,
twists their necks around backwards. That's the thing I remember most from this
I was
movie.
like, Jesus!
That happens a lot in their movies. Like, there's another one where their heads get stuck in, like, holes, and their necks get stretched out, and they have these huge, like, giraffe necks. Like, it's pretty, like, they did some surreal stuff, which was funny.
That's fucked up, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, he essentially kills them because he turns their heads backwards.
Great ending.
But it's also like, how strong is that dude? Holy, because he's just like, like off screen, and then when it cuts back to both of them, their like heads are backwards, and they're like,
they turn into dwarfs.
Yeah, dwarfs. I also thought it was funny because like this woman that the captain's trying to woo is like, if you find out she's like the wife of like the drunk guy. Because she's like, he left and he never came back. And it's like, yeah, he just went on this ship and was wasted forever.
Yeah.
So.
Alright.
I guess, do you have anything else to say
No, I enjoyed all these,
Hardy?
but Laurel and Hardy's are my favorite. They're my favorite of the old comedy teams.
Yeah.
I think, like, of all of them, probably Marx Brothers are the most genius. But Laurel and Hardy are my personal favorite and make me laugh the hardest. Like, it's just so funny.
Laurel and Hardy.
It's a good story because like they were best friends in real life for like their whole lives. Yeah. So you can tell like their chemistry is off the charts.
The poster, it's like Yeah, they never wear sailor suits. Cool. So then we'll move on to, I think, like, the just as equally popular Three Stooges here.
All right.
Or at least I think in the pop culture, I would assume. So I guess we'll start with We Want Our Mummy. This one came out in 1939, directed by Del Lord, starring the Three Stooges, Moe Howard, Larry Fine, and Curly Howard. So the thing that's like interesting, I think, about the Three Stooges, it was like, instead of being like, you know, like friends and stuff like that, it's like 3 out of the 4 of the usual members were brothers, and Larry was the one that was essentially like the Laurel and Hardy thing, where they were like the person that was like the friend and stuff like that. So yeah, but yeah, this was released by Columbia Pictures, starring the comedians, who released 190 shorts for the studio between 1934 and 1959. Ooh. Dude, back in the day, like,
cranking them out, man.
Yeah, the Three Stooges and Laurel and Hardy, it's like the amount of shorts that they did, it's like, that is freaking ridiculous. Like, the only people that kind of stand up to that now are like Samuel Jackson and like Nick Cage and stuff. It's like they're in everything.
They were true like movie factories.
Right.
Like they would, you know, they were under contract. They would film like, you could knock these shorts out in like 2 weeks.
Right.
And you just keep working.
Yeah.
The whole studio would take like a month off for vacation, but you know.
But like you said, it was like a factory, so they had like people like that were like, okay, this is what we're gonna do and stuff like that. And, so this one starts at the Museum of Ancient History, hours 10 to 5. They're looking for a mummy, the king of Root and Tootin.
I hate to admit it, made me laugh. Or I don't hate to admit it.
I hate to admit it. That pisses me off. I hate to admit it. So this was like something that like I was kind of like, what the fuck is going on here? They like enter the room backwards wearing like these hats that are like, the back of their heads are like
masks.
They're kind of realistic like detective masks that have like pipes in them, and they're also wearing like backwards everything, and then they turn around and they're like, hey, and I guess the joke is that like these are the actual detectives, not these guys. But then like throughout the rest of the scenes in the thing, they're wearing like this get up where they've got like double shoes. It's like the shoes are going backwards too. It's like,
I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I was like, that must have been something that they came up with, you know, the Three Stooges, and I was like,
someone thought it'd be a funny gag, and it was weird.
Yeah, I think that was more weird than anything, so I was like, I'm sure that probably killed at the time, but I was just like, what the fuck? I wasn't like pissed, I'm like, I'm fucking pissed.
Was it funnier than the time Tom Green wore all his clothes backwards? You remember that? And Freddy got fingered.
I don't know.
Just say no.
Yeah, I don't know if that was even that funny. That movie's just weird. Fall down the stairs. Got like a part where they're like, okay, we're gonna go down in the basement, and they like just go straight down those fucking stairs. I was like, wearing backwards double shoes. They help the kidnappers like take the professor that's like been missing out.
Yeah.
Which is always funny. He's like knocking into stuff like Curly is, like, because he's the one carrying the whole thing, and Moe's like, if you keep doing that, I won't let you carry it. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to do this, but I also thought this reminded me of when I was young, and I was just like, dude, we should run all the way to Italy. The taxi drives all the way to Egypt.
Yeah, that was funny. Good
I
gag.
was cracking up, dude. I think for me, one of the funniest things about this whole skit is where, like, they see a mirage, and, like, Curly thinks it's real, and he fucking goes nuts in it, and he's, like, flopping around like a fish and stuff,
That
and
was
I'm
good
like,
stuff.
Jesus.
Classic Curly moments.
And then they try to dive into the sand, and they fly straight into, like, a trap door into the tomb, and I was just like...
There was so much like mummy stuff back in the day. Like the discovery of King Tut was like the most mind-blowing thing.
Yeah, like blew people away. Like, wait a minute, people were around before this? Where are you? Where are you? It's like an echo. I'm here. Where are you? I'm here. Where are you? I asked you first. Where are you? None of your business. He was like, eh! It's funny because like these skits are like, they have stuff where it's like usually somebody's behind it, but like stuff like that, it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So they finally kind of are like into the tomb, and they like, Curly's like, okay, he's like, go ahead and start getting this mummy ready. We're gonna, have a ton of money because of this. And Curly falls into like what they think is the mummy, and it turns to dust. It's like,
when they find out you killed the mummy, they'll kill us.
Yeah. And they're like, okay, we're gonna wrap you up. And he's like, I can't be a mummy. I'm a daddy. And I was like, holy shit. This is another thing that was like cracking me up, is when he's like, the guy's just like, for some reason, I can't remember why, there was like a paper there and he was reading it or something. He's like, Yanks win World Series, can you beat that? And Curly, who's supposed to be a mummy, says, yeah, and I won $5. And he's like, no kidding. And I had the Cubs. What? But the way the guy like reacts, it's like, okay. There's more butt play in this too, because a gator bites fucking Curly's ass.
All I was thinking was like, I hope they didn't mistreat that gator, but they probably did.
Well, there's parts where like, it's essentially they had to freeze frame it, because I know that it probably wasn't cooperating.
Yeah.
So like, it was like, it's like it shows up and then like the frame just stops, and I'm like, okay, what the fuck did they try to do to this thing? It's a pretty straightforward one.
Yeah. Very enjoyable. But yeah, I agree, the stuff with Curly swimming around and stuff was the best.
And then I guess we'd move on to If a Body Meets a Body, which is a 1945 short directed by Jules White, starring the Three Stooges again. Same Three Stooges, Moe, Larry, and Curly. It's the 86th entry in the series, released by Columbia Pictures, starring the comedians, who release 190... Okay, we already said that.
I enjoyed this one more. This was my favorite of the two that we watched.
The plot device is borrowed from taken from the Laurel-Hardy Murder Case, which also features actor Fred Kelsey as, like, the detective. So he plays, like, a younger detective in the Laurel and Hardy one, but in this one he's like an older one, so he's not as much of a bastard in this one.
Yeah.
There's also like the lines at the very beginning are like, there are parts that are word for word, but then after that it's like completely different for the most part, with like the jokes and all that stuff. But it's like the whole like setup with like the uncle and stuff like that is like, specifically the part where they say, where were you born? And he's just like, I don't know, I was too young to know, and stuff like that. Yep. It's delivered differently by both, Curly and, like, Laurel, and, like, the way Moe and, like, Hardy react is different, but it's, like, the same lines. It's like, okay. Well, like you said, it wasn't something that I was just like, this is bullshit, but it was, after I watched the other one and then I watched this one, I was like, wait a minute, this is like the exact same, because I watched them all like pretty much the same day. Mm-hmm. So they're talking about, holy crap, you can get free cigs or whatever. Like,
the soup smells like a dead horse.
Yeah, so like they're making this soup, because this is another thing where like, the Three Stooges and Laurel and Hardy had this in common, where a lot of times they were just like, hey, we got like fucking no money. And like they're making soup, or like Curly had made soup for everybody, and they're like, man, I can't wait to have this soup. And like, like you said, they said it smelled horrible, and they're like, one of them pulls a horseshoe out of the soup. I was like, Jesus. Like, oh, that smells like a rotten horse. So then, like, when they do the same thing where they find, like, in the newspaper, we're looking for a person that's, like, the inheritor of this. And this time it's Curly. Curly Q Link. And when they finally get there, they, like soak the butler every 5 seconds, like they're taking off their coats and stuff, because it's the same thing with like there being a storm. And like I said, Fred Kelsey is back as a detective. He says a thing where he's just like, who are you guys? And he's like, what are you guys doing here? He's like, oh, I'm Curly, Link. And he's like, oh, you're the missing Link. And he's like, no, I'm the found Link. And I'm like, ah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I thought it was funny that the butler's name is Jerkington. I was like, what?
That's hilarious.
Also, just like in the Laurel and Hardy one, they always found people that were really good that were like side people to be like, you know, like they're not like the important characters, but like they did a great job. Like the first dude that gets killed here, when he gets killed, he like moans, screams, he's like, oh, and I'm like, you go in and there's like a knife in his back, and it's like, Jesus. Yeah. Of course, Mo is like the leader of these, you know, the Three Stooges, so he's always kind of like treating the other ones like shit. And like Curly says, what if the murderer comes back? And he's like, don't worry, if he stabs you in the head, he'll wreck his knife. I was like, Jesus.
This had my favorite line of any of the shorts in it.
Oh, what was it?
Blow out the candle, or I'll blow out your brain. I was like, good lord, dude.
Yeah, that was fucked up.
That's a serious threat.
Yeah. It also means, like, I'm sure, like, back then it meant the same thing, but now it's, like, even more, like, there's nothing that you could construe that as, like, you know.
Like, quite an escalation.
Yeah, it's like, holy shit, he's gonna pull a gun and blow his fucking head off. Yeah, when that happened, I was like, oh. I also thought it was funny that, like, they're like, what are you doing? You know, you're going to bed with your clothes on. And he's like, you know, I want to, you know, be ready just in case. And, like, Larry and Mo look at each other like, what an idiot, but they do the same thing because they're, like, cowards as well. Also, like, when one of the doors is opening, it's, like, the creakiest door in cinema. It's like, I was like, Jesus.
I really enjoyed the skull with wings.
Yeah, the bird under the skull or whatever.
Dude, what is this, like Doom 2?
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah, their thing, instead of like a bat under a sheet, it's like a bird that's strong enough to fly around and walk around with a skull on it.
Yeah, that was cool.
I thought that was hilarious, you know, because it was, of course, like...
They built like a little toy robot skull.
It's like, Curly only saw it, but then, like, eventually Larry sees it, but of course Mo didn't see it till, you know, because he was, like, the one in charge. He's like, you guys are full of shit. But of course, if he saw it, you know, it would be like, joke would be dead, over. Of course, we've got more burning butts here. Some dude gets his
butt plate.
Yeah. So you want to talk about, like, Mo's hair going up?
Yeah, that was so funny. Biggest laugh. I rewound it like 10 times.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah, he, like, sees a dude, like, and, like, yeah, his just hair goes
hair
up.
Stands up.
Yeah, and, like, you could tell that they were, like, blasting him with, like, you know, like a fan or something, but he's like, whoa, and they, like, loop the audio and add a bunch of stuff in.
Yeah, so, like, it happens, and then they cut to the same shot over again and just zoomed in on his face, and I thought that was such a funny choice. But then, like, Curly is just like, I was like, what's he doing? That was hilarious.
Also,
worth the price of admission.
When they all see the skull, all three of their pant legs go up. I was like...
That's great.
I think this one was definitely, out of the two, the better one. It was way funnier. Also, at the end, it's, like, so fucked up. So, like, they read off the will finally, and, like, they're like, to my niece, I give, like, whatever, $1,000,000-something, and to my nephew, Curly, I get the sum total of 67 cents, and they're like, 67 cents? What the? And they, like, Larry starts pulling out his fucking hair. They're like, he's, like, screaming like he's being tortured, and I'm like, Jesus!
Yeah, that was a good gag. He pulls out, like, huge fistfuls of hair.
I always think, like, when Larry gets pissed, it's, like, the funniest of anything, because, like, or, like, he's angry, it's, like, because he's usually just kind of, like, you know, they've got Mo that's in charge, Curly or Shemp, who's, like, usually on the brunt end of the punishment. But, like, Larry is the support man and stuff. But, like, whenever he, like, does something like that, it's like, eh. I think one of my favorite gags out of any of the ones I've ever seen of any shorts is with the Three Stooges, where, like, Shemp is like, his face is in like a bowl or something, like a fish bowl, and like he's like, whoa, 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 like they can't hear him, and Mo's like, what did he say? And Larry goes, mar, 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 mar.
Nice.
And he's like, you fucking idiot. Yeah, so I was glad to watch, to include Three Stooges in this as well.
Yep, that was great. Good stuff.
So now we're going to move on to the last one, Buster Keaton, the short titled Haunted House from 1921, a two-reel silent comedy film starring Buster Keaton, written and directed by Keaton and Edward F. Klein. And the film has a runtime of 21 minutes.
And it's from 1921, which makes this the oldest thing we've ever watched, and it's over 100 years old.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
The oldest short, for sure. For some reason, I thought this was longer, but then, because I think, Steamboat Bill Jr. was longer, but, that was an actual feature film. I didn't...
He started doing shorts before moving into feature.
Not too many, people do, at least, from what I remember, I think, a lot of the stuff for, not Laurel and Hardy, but, Abbott and Costello, a lot of their films I own, I think all of them are, full-length ones, so.
Yeah, Buster Keaton is another true genius, I think. His movies contain, magical realism or stuff, fantastical stuff happens, I love the little touches where he hangs up his cane upside down.
Yeah.
Just stuff like that is, I think, truly awesome. I love Buster Keaton and his movies.
Cool.
Rest in peace.
Rest forever. Please don't come back.
So what did you think of The Haunted House?
I thought it was okay. I didn't like it as much as the other one I've seen of Buster Keaton.
It wasn't it's not laugh a minute like the other ones. Compared to the other ones, I think that out of the two Buster Keaton stuff I've seen, I'm obviously not an expert. I've only seen these two, but so far the trend that I've seen, a lot of his stuff honestly is more awe-inspiring, the stuff he can do, and less comedy for me. It's not really super funny, but it's it's more so he would have been at home alongside the action films of today because of the stuff he does. There's a part where he the original Jackie Chan
jumps up to he jumps up to a second level just with 2 or 3 steps, and it's he's very capable of doing all these stunts, and you said just like Jackie Chan, it's all these stunts he's coming up with and doing all this stuff, and the ideas and stuff, and I think that's probably for me at least his strong suit.
Yep.
I don't think the comedy, obviously I think for the time it probably landed, and obviously comedy is subjective. There was a lot of stuff in this that was funny, but there was some stuff that I was just kind of it wasn't as funny, but all the stuff he did that was supposed to be death-defying or action-based was holy shit, this is awesome.
It's more about the impressive and clever gags, he opens the front door and he has a bottle opener because there's just stuff like that, just interesting gags.
Wall Street, the palatial parking place of the bull and the bear. The bull. I was what?
But then the big centerpiece of this movie is a staircase where the stairs turn into a ramp.
Right.
So I'm sure that idea alone was what they based this movie around.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Keaton's well, man, I could do all kinds of gags with that.
Yeah.
And then he did.
New York is not the only town that has its master of finance. So since it's a silent film, there's a lot of well, there's no doubt, but there's a lot of obviously it's all done by, you have to infer what's going on. It's not hard because they make it very clear because they do a good job of just kind of essentially doing mime and stuff like that of everything. And whenever they need to do like a card, it's usually like a gag or a joke or something like that to show to the audience, like, you know, a line that's like, oh, it's funny.
I actually couldn't follow the plot. Like, I didn't understand why anything was happening. Like, I didn't understand why the counterfeiters had a haunted house or, like, what their plot was. You know?
Yeah, at first I didn't understand. There was a part where, like, these actors get run out of town, but then they, like, show up at the haunted house, and it, like...
It's, like, an excuse for gags to happen.
Right, but it, like, made... Like, if it just... Like, at first I didn't understand why they were even showing that scene, but then they finally showed, oh, they ran to the haunted house, but it was, like, at first I was like, what?
Back when everyone brought tons of vegetables to the show so they could throw it at the actors.
Yeah. I guess that was like a thing back in the day. I didn't understand that. Buster uses like you said, uses a can opener for the front door to unveil the lock and then just goes in the other door.
That was good.
It was unlocked.
Good stuff.
The stair gimmick was really cool when all the police fall down. It was like something you would see like in a Lupin animated thing where like all the police fall down or something like that. I was like, man, they should have made like a Lupin the Third movie with Buster Keaton before it was created.
They definitely got their money's worth with those stairs.
Yeah. It was like they showed that and then he went down it like 20 times.
Yeah.
But that was like, I don't know. Looking at it, it's like, man, that would hurt your ass. Safe didn't open until 9, and then this woman, like, seduces Buster, and he, like, changes the clock forward until it, like, opens. The only part of this that kind of, like, got to me, like, I guess I won't say, like, triggered, but it kind of, like, made me a little, like, what the fuck, is, like, he gets, like, glue on his hands, but instead of, like, wiping them off, he, like, gets all the fucking money, like, sticky, and it becomes like a shit show, and I'm like, dude, this is a fucking nightmare to me.
Yeah, I think that's why some people like don't respond to these comedies, because it can be seen as like frustrating to watch, and I totally get that for sure. It's like, dude, this...
I understand where they were like going with it and stuff, but it was like Laurel and Hardy and like the Three Stooges is like something would happen where like glue would like fall on the money and they would have to separate it, but that was like he actively went out of his way to like fuck himself over. I mean, stuff came out of it that was funny, but the setup for me was like, oh my god, this is like, it's like watching like a toddler, like, you can't do anything and like something's being destroyed and you're like, holy shit. This was funny because I was like, this was like a bastardly move. He like, this dude like has like, he's glued to the floor because of something Buster did, and he's trying to, like, Buster's trying to pour hot water to, like, I guess dissolve the glue, and the guy, like, is like, ow, that hurts or whatever, and he fucking knocks him out so he can just fucking...
Not feel the pain.
Yeah, so he can just pour the boiling water on him and dissolve the glue, and I'm like, Jesus!
And then when he did it to himself, I was like, that's pretty
Yeah. Also, like, there's a part where two dudes' butts get fucking glued together, and, Buster just cuts the fat guy's, like, pant bottom so you see his underwear and a lady sees it and passes out.
Yeah.
I was like...
Different times.
This is another card they had that was kind of funny. The opera was executing Faust tonight, and he deserved it. I was like, Jesus. It's like, whatever jokes they had and they used back then, it was like a lot of times had to have double meaning because they only had like that one card to do a joke, so it was like, you know, so I definitely appreciate that. It wasn't just like a card that said like fuck on it. Set falls on lady and audience dude brought a cabbage to throw at the actor. It was like they were instantly pissed as soon as like one tiny thing went wrong. I was like, Jesus. And then they get run out of town like they have torches and shit. The guys they're like trying to lynch these people for like messing it wasn't even something they did. The set fell down and they were like, let's kill these motherfuckers. That's when I was kind of like, what's going on here? Why are these guys like, why are we seeing this? And you see later it's because one of the dudes is dressed up as like Satan. One of the dudes is, you know, like there's people that are dressed up that run to this haunted house or this house to escape, and Buster ends up kind of seeing them and being like, holy shit, you know, like, and then he thinks the actor is the real Satan, and he's like, like, freaking out about it. And then there's a part where, like, it's just a one shot of Satan looking down at him, and a shot of him looking up, and he's like, man, I'm like, what? Ghost walks, as soon as the dude leaves, the ghost walks in behind him, and he scales to the second floor. He was like,
that was cool. Impressive.
Yeah, that was I think that kind of stuff is the stuff that's the highlight of these films.
Yep.
So, like, there's like a skeleton dudes are like setting up a person, and then he actually becomes a real person.
Yeah.
And, like...
That's what I was talking about earlier, like, the magical stuff that happens in these movies.
But it's like, they act like this was all a dream, but it wasn't. Like, that actually happened. So, like, two people that were either dressed up as...
real-life Frankenstein.
Yeah, it was either two people that were, like, dressed up as skeletons, or two people that were skeletons created a human.
Yeah.
And I was like, huh.
You know what I kept thinking with the skeletons? I wanted Mr. Miyagi to come out and kick They looked exactly like Cobra Kai, dude.
Also, like, there's a part where, like, a wizard or god shows up. And he does, like, a face, and it's, like, the scariest thing ever. He's like... And I'm like, Jesus. He runs up the slide. That was legit. I wonder how many takes that took to actually be able to get up there.
I'm sure he was messing with that slide for
He's
days.
Yeah, the old dude holding his coat while he runs, then close-up of him yelling. That was scary. Smoking devil. So, like, the devil gets kind of set on fire, and then he, like, runs outside, and they see him, and they're like, it's Satan! Like, the police, like, run away from this guy dressed as Satan, thinking he's the real devil that came up from, like, hell with fire and brimstone because he's smoking. So he's like, like, running after him, and they're like, shit. That was a pretty big laugh for me, because I was just like, holy crap.
My biggest laugh was right after that when he plays traffic cop.
Dude,
ghosts.
yeah.
Like, so funny. It's just, like, silliness.
Buster, yeah. Guy kills Buster, and he goes to heaven, and then St. Peter pulls the lever, and he goes to hell, and they're like, just kidding, he was just knocked out. And I was like...
That was great.
Holy shit, why would you dream that you went to heaven, but actually you went to hell?
Yeah, that happens in a lot of his movies. Like, they have pretty outrageous endings. Like, one time he falls off, like, a cliff or something, and he goes so deep into the ground, when he comes out, he has, like, a Chinese wife with him, so, like, he went all the way to China, and then came back.
Chinese, he got married and stuff.
Yeah. So I really appreciate that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But he got sent to heaven before he got
Yeah, he did. The funny thing is, like, why is it, like, a common thing that, like, you're instantly sent to heaven, but then they actually are going to hell? Wouldn't they just send you to the right place to begin with?
Like, someone made a mistake.
Yeah. St. Peter followed the assignment. Yeah, so, like, these were all really good, man.
It was a really fun week to watch these shorts.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it.
I think, like...
Jam.
I don't know if I'll give any of these, like, a rating, because there's, you know... Like, but, like, I'll definitely say, like... As much as I like the Three Stooges, since I hadn't seen any Laurel and Hardy, I think my favorite one was the first one we talked about. The what was that one called?
Laurel and Hardy Murder Case.
Yeah, Murder Case.
Same.
And
they were all very highly entertaining, and made me want to just watch more.
Yeah, I think maybe more so for me. I liked the Laurel and Hardy stuff because I hadn't seen it or whatever. I've seen all the Three Stooges stuff except for like the movies because a lot of those are like. The actual, like, people aren't involved. It's just, like, Larry and... They should have just done, like Moe and Larry and switch it to, like, a duo, because after that, the people that got to replace them were, like, horrible. Anyway, so, yeah. The Buster Keaton thing, it was interesting to see, but I think that was one that, like, I had already seen, like, the other one, so I was just, like, expecting that level. And so when I watched it, I was like, this is okay.
You definitely got better over time.
I think it was also, like... For me, like I said, I think his comedy isn't super great. I think it's okay, but I think that like his stunt work is like next to none. And there was a ton of that in Steamboat Bill Jr. Like where he freaking was on that freaking tree and just he jumps down like 3 flights on like a steamboat. I was like, fucking shit, man, this is ridiculous. So he's a master of fucking flopping all over the place. I guess. That's it for this week, but what are we talking about next week?
You tell me.
Do you not remember?
It's a sci-fi week.
It is.
Yes.
You got it.
Sci-fi horror.
But not quick enough. You're like, I'm like. So next week is, let's see, what did you nominate? You nominated Beyond the Black Rainbow. And I...
Probably the most obscure movie we've done on this podcast.
I think I had actually heard of it before you talked about it, but I just never, it might even be on my list at some point. I need to go through there and delete stuff that we've already watched. And I wanted to watch Note because I've seen all of his films. I just haven't seen that one. And I know that this film has a big, their big thing is you don't know what it is and stuff, and he always has cool stuff in his films. So
should be a lot of fun.
He's a master. So yeah, we'll be doing the sci-fi horror week, dude. Whoa. So, until next week, until next time, same buddy channel, same buddy time. Yeah. Thanks for listening to the radio program.
Hey, Mike! What do you mean, hey, Mike? You blew everything, you idiot! I was a victim of circumstance. Yeah, a victim, huh? I'll show you, victim.
I'll pretend to do the thing for me.
Hey, dear boy, what are you doing? That's dangerous. That's the most dangerous game. You're like, fucking go on, idiot! I'm like, go. I'm like, hey, Mike! Sound like fucking King. Puppies! Turn into Mel Gibson over here. Hey, Mike! It's gonna work. I know, this is... Hey, Mike! $3 million. Is that as much as 1,000? Says it. Gee whiz! And it's all mine! Do that again, but do it more like a question. Oh, okay. I'm like, gee whiz, it's all... I'm like, gee whiz? And it's all mine! It's like, what?